You're about to listen to an excerpt of Secret City Geek Lab broadcast on KTSTFM.com every Wednesday at 7 o'clock p.m. For more news, reviews, and interviews from the world of geek, visit the Geek Lab at secretcitycomedy.com/geeklab or like us on Facebook at facebook.com/secretcity. Enjoy the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the ComiXology Submit panel, Long Beach, California, 2013. Thank you so much. I'm a little under the weather, having taken off Thursday and Friday from work, but I did that so I could be here today for you guys, the non-cancelable panel. So, and also the support on the work. So anyway, just to let you all know, on ComiXology right now, we have a huge Doctor Who 50th anniversary sale running until the 25th.
Does that include comics I wrote? Probably.
I think so. Probably so.
Together.
And then we have a Titan 99-cent sale that runs until the end of the day tomorrow. And then we have a Green Lantern sale that began on the 19th and runs for 7 days. And I can't do math right now. So it will end 7 days after the 19th. This is Joshua Hale Fialkov, who has written and co-created the ComiXology Submit smash hit, The Bunker, with Joe Incornari, whose name I previously mispronounced for about 10 years straight.
I have the most vowels of any creative team.
Definitely.
To pride ourselves on.
And I am Chip Mosher. My Twitter is very easy to remember. It's @Chip Mosher. I'm the VP of Communications Marketing at ComiXology. And I help out on the Submit team in turn. So this year in March during South by Southwest, we announced a little endeavor called ComiXology Submit. And what it is, how many people are familiar with ComiXology Submit here? So ComiXology Submit is basically a curated platform at ComiXology where anyone can go and sign up and submit their PDF of their self-published comic book work. It goes through a review process. Then we, once it's accepted, then we do the guided view. And then we basically take a 50-50 split on the gross profits after channel costs meaning like Apple and Google's cut. And we don't take any of the media rights or anything like that. And it's not exclusive. So we did that in March of this year, in September, and it's been really successful. And we started off with this video.
Meet Too Much Coffee Man. He's a
Whoops.
star of his own comic.
Hang on, let's do that again. It's a little too loud.
Meet Too Much Coffee Man. He's the star of his own comic. He wants people to read his comic, but doesn't know how. Creators like this inspired us at ComiXology to build Submit. ComiXology Submit gives creators everywhere the opportunity to showcase and make bank from their work. What are you waiting for, Too Much Coffee Man? Go ahead and click Submit.
So we've gotten submissions for ComiXology Submit from every continent in the world except Antarctica since March, which has been pretty awesome. So if you go to submit.comixology.com and you have a completed comic book or graphic novel, you can just go there, sign up, submit. You can do that today. And since March, Submit has become one of our top, if we consider Submit a publisher, it would be in one of our top 20 publishers on the entire ComiXology platform. And then here's some great little quotes about it. And it's been overwhelmingly successful. And we've had over 400 new series premiere on Submit since the debut. And for creators, you go to submit.comixology.com. If you want to buy Submit the content, go to ComiXology.com/submit, and now I'm going to sit down and ask Josh what he thinks about Submit, and he's going to say horrible, horrible, horrible things.
Well, Terry,
What do you think about Submit?
I'm going to talk into a microphone that isn't working. It's so weird. Hey. Let's keep wiggling things. That's fine. I have a very good voice. Oh God, everything's falling apart. This is horrible. I started self-publishing over a decade ago, and the thing about self-publishing was essentially cost, right? Aside from making the comic, you had to invest a huge amount of money in your print run. You had to, Diamond would send you your invoice for however many copies, and independent comics back then would sell 700 copies or 800 copies, and most printers won't print that few, so suddenly you're printing 4,000 copies, and you sit on them. I have a storage unit filled with books just sitting there that are, hard to find, and I should really put those on the internet. You should put them on the internet. So
that's Submit part 2.
So I've been, so ever since I was self-publishing, I've been trying to find ways to release stuff without having those barriers. Cost being the primary one, but then you also kind of have market hesitation, and when you're trying to get independent comics into retailers' hands, they're going to choose. If you have a choice between, say, my book, The Bunker, and X-Men, they are going to choose X-Men because they are going to sell 100% of X-Men, and they are not necessarily going to sell 100% of my book. Or they order 2 copies, which is great, but then nobody can find it because it's sold out. And not sold out in the good way. Sellouts are the worst thing that happen in comics. Submit is the first truly legitimate way to get your book into people's hands, where you have a wide swath of the market right in front of you. And they treat the books the same way they treat the Marvel and DC books. So when your comic comes out, it's in the newly released on the front page of the app. You're given the opportunity. You can promote your book in really easy ways to get people to read it the way they're already reading comics. Probably the most interesting part for me that we figured out through the process, we sold through 2 channels. We sold through ComiXology, and then we did a DRM-free download on our website. And Chip can correct me, but I believe it was 14 times as many?
Yeah.
We'd sold 14 times as many copies through ComiXology as we did through our own website. And much to Chip's chagrin, we always promoted our website first. And even within that...
And I made you put a ComiXology link on.
And then, no, but that's the thing. You would go to our website, and you would actually, if you go to whatisthebunker.com or thebunkercomic.com, you'll actually see there's 3 options for every comic. You can either buy it as a PDF, you can buy it as a CBR, or you can buy it on ComiXology. And people, literally 14 times as many people have bought it on ComiXology. So it's an easy, straightforward way to actually get the work that you're doing in front of people. And it's something that, as someone who's worked in digital comics in one form or another for 12 years, it's something that I've been waiting for.
Cool.
How's that?
I like that. I'm done.
All right, we'll see you guys later. Thanks for coming.
When the bunker came out, I think that day it was the number 8th top selling comic book of the day. It has been really gratifying to be able to service. The thing that's interesting about ComiXology is that for the first, when the digital comics part of ComiXology debuted in 2009, it was really in conjunction with people like Robert Kirkman and Matt Wagner and Mike Allred, and having individual deals with individual creators, and that was the extent. I think Atomic Robo was like the first book on the platform, and so as deals were made with Marvel and DC, and ComiXology moved more towards that way, and then Marvel and DC went same day as print. There was less and less focus on the smaller guys, the smaller creators, the self-publishers, and that was something that was internally was sort of a bummer for most of the people at the company, and so we really took pains to create this platform with Submit to figure out a way to service the indie self-publisher, in a scalable fashion that actually kept some professional standards. The difference between Submit and some of the other platforms where you can just upload stuff and it's up there is since we have everything in guided view, there's really a fairly high file size requirement for us. And that's been probably the biggest bottleneck, is going back to people and getting PDFs redone. And then, making sure, it's not someone who's just, sort of doing Crayola on a page and, and wanting that to be out there. And so, it's been an interesting process. We haven't rejected a lot of stuff, on the pure content basis, but we have, because it's just not up to professional standards. And we're always debating internally, what does professional standards mean? So it's been an interesting 9 months almost.
Do you guys, are there people out there who want to make comics? Like, is that why you're here? Is because you want to make your own comics and distribute them? Do you guys have specific questions on either side? We've actually both, on top of our knowledge from here, we've both done self-publishing. We've both kind of worked through all those markets. Yeah. So we're a good resource, and we're here. And there's not that many people, so we can answer almost everyone's questions. I know.
We might be able to memorize everyone's name,
and then have you over later.
Yeah.
Do you do graphic novels, or is it just more floppy size?
Yeah. I mean, one of Bikini. Ivan, how many pages is Bikini Cowboy?
It's like 120.
120. Yeah. I think there's one book that we have that's like 300 pages or something
I
crazy.
saw one that's like 250.
250, yeah.
Yeah.
Ivan helps out. He works ComiXology, and we promote this. One of the things that we do with the Submit books is not just put them up, right next to everybody else, but we're able to send out review copies to the press and hype them that way also. And Ivan's a big part of that process.
So on the site, is there a difference between stuff that's pro, professional, and indie, or is it all
Nope.
just kind of mixed up?
Yep. Have you bought anything from ComiXology ever before?
I haven't seen kind of the app, so I haven't really.
Yeah, no, just look at the app. Basically, if you open up the app, you'll see a featured page, and we have what we call feature breaks at the top. Usually, like on Wednesday, we'll have the new releases in a carousel right there. And so if you have a Submit book that's not, we have a lot of people that, I think Roy Thomas, was it Champions? What was his 80? Like that's coming out through Submit, right? And that's not in the same day as print new releases for that Wednesday, but that'll be in a new and noteworthy, right? And then we have a whole nother section for Submit also.
When you say you debate over professional standards,
Sure.
do you have an idea of? Can you elaborate on that? Or?
Well, the biggest thing, the books that we automatically reject are the ones that are lettered in Comic Sans. So
It's actually like the number one tip, number one pro tip for making comics is hire a letterer. Mm-hmm. Don't do it yourself unless you read Richard Starking's book first and really understand it. But no, lettering is the cheapest part of the process, and it's the thing that actually makes a book look professional.
yeah. And then it's tough because, when I worked at Boom Studios before ComiXology, I helped oversee the indie comics label Boomtown. And we did a book with Daniel Johnston called Space Dogs, which, would be considered in the art world outsider art. It's not, the draftsmanship is not refined, let's say. But it had a lot of artistic merit. And so, there's is this, someone who's trying to do a superhero book and the draftsmanship is really poor, but everything else is good, like the coloring good, that doesn't really make it through. Whereas like something that is in itself, a piece of art like Space Ducks would get through. So it's an internal debate that we have. And it's something we take really seriously.
Do you determine the pricing on the books? Or
Nope, you do.
Oh, okay.
You do.
And it's at least 99 cents?
Yeah. The lowest price you can do is 99 cents.
So I do an all ages indie comic, and I want to get it on all ages. Is there anything that I can do to like do you guys help with marketing or anything like that?
Yeah. So the marketing stuff that we do is feature the comics with everything else that's coming out. So you're featured on the day that it comes out with all the other new releases. So there's that. It's not like put to the back of the store or anything. And then we send out review copies to, how many reviewers do we have signed up on the review list? About 120?
Actually, we're close to 200 now.
200?
Yeah. 200
reviewers. Sometimes things get reviewed. Sometimes, we don't have time really to go out and when I was at Boom and I had books that I wanted to get reviewed, I would call people and say, hey, Jonah, CBR, review this book. He's like, I don't review books. And I'm like, well, who does? Well, Augie does it. Give it to Augie. Stuff like that. We don't do. You just send a mass email.
A very exciting anecdote. I was going to tell you.
I told you I have a cold. I'm trying to caffeinate.
Here's the truth of comics.
But you need to market your own stuff.
Yeah, the truth of comics is that nobody really helps you. Whether you're published through Diamond, as a print comic, it's your responsibility to tell retailers and to tell readers. It's your responsibility to educate them about the book. But if you're doing something that's special, that gets a foothold, you're gonna find that support. And that's not me talking for them. You find it with the bunker. We found a real wellspring of people who just really responded to what we were doing and the story of why we did it the way we did it and all that stuff, so that we had a support network of people who were just fans. So and
yeah, Joe and Josh were incredibly aggressive on Twitter the day the book came out.
And leading up to it.
And they had placed articles in the Comics Press online, and so there was a buzz, coming out.
And it's the miserable part. I'm not saying it's fun. It's the hardest, least fun part of making comics, except maybe the accounting one. Those two things, really.
See, and I'm the weirdo that finds that the most exciting part. So.
But no, it's something that you have to do it, and our industry is still small enough that it really is about relationships. It's really about the people that you know and the people that you meet, and coming to places like here and talking to people and showing off your books if you have a table, showing off what you're working on, and just getting to know the community. And we're really lucky because we have Twitter, and again, that didn't exist.
Yeah.
So now, you can tweet to everybody. There's virtually nobody in comics. Brian K. Vaughan. Other than Brian K. Vaughan, pretty much everybody in comics is on Twitter, and we all want to help young people, or new creators. So there's a degree of work you have to do. What ComiXology provides is it provides a network. It provides an audience that's just sitting there, but it's up to you to, get it in their hands.
Yeah, at any time during the week, we're in the top 10 grossing iPad apps in the entire iTunes App Store. We're usually the top book app in the entire iTunes App Store. That's last time I looked, it was over 250,000 apps. I think it's 400,000 now or something crazy like that. And, we're the number one book app in France. We're consistently the number one book app in Germany. We're consistently the number one book app in the UK. So, there's access to a global audience there, at a push of a button. The thing is, we can only do so much to drive attention to your book. So, you got to meet us at least halfway, maybe a little bit more. Jody, you got any questions?
No, not really.
See, we all know Jody.
We all know Jody.
Because she did exactly. No, it's like she's, you're working. Are you getting paid to write comics yet? Are we there yet? Almost.
Once.
There you go. But Jody's someone who, I met you 4 years ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago, and she's done a really nice job of just being a supportive, active member of the community, of the comics community. There you go. And you can do it. You can just by being yourself and being the passionate, excited person that you theoretically are if you want to make comics. It gets you much further than one would think.
Most definitely.
Well, there's
But once you do a project for lettering or coloring or whatever, do you get that feedback in the rejection, or is it just kind of like a...
Yeah, I mean, if there's way too many problems with it, it's, and we really don't see any, then it's a pretty, we're not taking this. If it's something where it's like, hey, if you
like the whole book is good except...
Yeah. I mean, in all seriousness, the Comic Sans thing has happened 3 or 4 times, and one guy actually, we gave him the feedback, and he actually hired a letterer to reletter it, and he wrote back and was like, "Oh my God, this book looks 100 times better." It's like, yes, it does, and it's for sale on the bucket.
Yeah, a couple questions. For format, when you submit your artwork, is there one specific format? Like
if you go to the FAQ at the bottom of the submit page, there's a PDF tutorial, and that's just as long as you abide by the PDF, and it's really less about DPI when we're talking about digital than the pixel width of the PDF. So if it's over a certain pixel width, then we're cool.
Okay.
And there's people like the Bunker, sort of a half-page format, widescreen format, and then then there's regular comic book format.
And there's also the guided, native.
And then people are doing guided, what we call guided view native, where they're using our guided view tools to do stuff like the infinite, the DC squared.
Oh, and I was going to ask for, so when you actually do send out the royalties, it's like a quarterly kind of thing?
Yeah, it's quarterly. Yeah, it's 45 days after the quarter. Okay. So, and if you search ComiXology Submit on Twitter, and then you go back, like if we sent out last day, it was like a month ago. Yeah, a week or two ago. You'll see like, hey, I got my statement. I sold 30 copies. Yay! So pretty gratifying. We're working on we're working slowly but surely on helping people sell more stuff. So, we're going back and forth on an email right now. Me and co-founder John D. Roberts, who really leads up the whole Submit team. And the email is basically like, hey, you've sold less than 10 copies. Here's the link. Here's things to do. You can get on Twitter. Just basically the stuff that we're talking about today. And I have a couple of people that have gotten my email and have bothered me, like, hey, is my book going to be on Submit and stuff? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And they're like, oh, great. And I talk to them, and then I'm like, it's coming out this Wednesday. It's awesome. And then I see their Twitter account. There's no mention of it, nothing. It's like, the fallacy is of people thinking that just being on ComiXology, they're going to sell hundreds of millions of copies. I mean, there's books that we've put up there that have sold 1 copy. And they've been in the new release list next to that week's Marvel, DC, Image, IDW, Boom, Dynamite, and so if you don't have awareness, there's only so much that's going to happen.
I know in the app when you click on a title, you get like a little blur. About what's about 3 pages maybe.
Yep.
Who helps with the little blur?
That's you. Yep. So when you go to submit.comixology.com, you go through, you put your name, your address, your billing info. You pitch your book basically. So hey, my book's this, and then you put your blurb, and you put the great reviews.
It's super easy. It's like really easy to do. I do it, and I'm an idiot, so I'm an idiot.
Do you give any kind of advice to like newcomers on how to on ComiXology, how to get the most out of it?
So,
Get more readers or people interested. Is it like price a big thing? Is like the writing also blurred? Like, what do you think?
well, if I was going to take off my ComiXology hat, I think a lot of times creators generally underprice their books. Is anybody a reporter here? So pricing, there's a lot of laws about price fixing and pricing, and so as ComiXology, we can't give any guidance on pricing. But I think in general, people with a 100-page graphic novel that price it at 99 cents are insane.
Well, one idea that way.
Yeah, no, that would be great.
I mean, in terms of pricing and all that stuff, you have to understand the value of what you have. There's been studies. When we first started the bunker, we were initially going to do a pay what you want. And I did a lot of research and read a lot of articles. And what you find with the pay what you want is it works if you're a Radiohead, right? Because Radiohead has an intrinsic value. I understand that if I buy a Radiohead album, I know what I paid for Radiohead albums in the past. I know how much roughly they're spending to make that album. I understand all that. If you've never done anything before and if you have no track record, people don't know. So when you say to them, pay me whatever you want, what they want to pay you is nothing. Because that's the level, that's the value you've given to your own work. Is that it should be free. Why shouldn't it be free? Right? And, that's fine. They're going to buy it for free. But if they're actually interested in your book and are actually going to read it, they're going to pay for it. They'll pay for it. And we even saw, we did a free code giveaway. I was going to bring someone, I totally forgot. We did a free code giveaway. We did a free code give out at New York.
Yep.
And we gave out probably around 300 to 500 cards, and under 100 people for a free comic, a free $2 comic. Because there's no value associated, because it's free, it actually has the opposite effect, where people are like, "Oh, it's just crap. It's free." Stuff that's free, the stuff I get for free are flyers. How long do you spend looking at flyers? You don't. You get them, stuff in your bag, and throw it out. So there's a sense of you have to value the time and the effort that you're putting in. That doesn't mean and you look at the market, right? So that doesn't mean you're going to do a 20-page comic and charge $8 for it because that's what you think it's worth. So to look at what the market is and figure out what the market will bear. And again, that's part of what we have to do. And in terms of building an audience and doing all that stuff, so I started in 2001, and I started by doing a webcomic that I drew myself because I couldn't afford an artist. And I found a way to do it despite the fact that I couldn't draw. And I did that webcomic for a year, and I built up fans. I built up, a following online. And then from that, I started doing mini comics, and with the mini comics, I could go to conventions. And when I was at conventions, I was giving out mini comics to all the creators I really liked. Everyone who inspired me and everyone whose work meant something to me would get a free copy of the comic. Whether they looked at it or not, I don't know. But eventually that built enough relationships that I put together my first anthology book. Because I knew all these people now, all these people who had met at all these different shows. Did my anthology book. And through the anthology book, I got the experience of publishing, how to publish, which led to me doing my first original graphic novel, which got bought by Random House. So there's a very clear process that I went through. And that process really is you have to do work, you have to get better, you have to meet people, and you have to build a group of peers around you. And it's not easy. It's not easy. It's what you do.
So can you sell it for nothing for free?
No. You have to sell 99. So the Apple's lowest price point in the app is 99 cents. So we basically make 99 cents the lowest price point that you can do.
I don't know the same man when he was asking. I don't know if you can answer because you were ComiXology Submit. Would you say a lot of people sell themselves short by just 99 cents so someone will buy it? Or you can make it where
people are paying $4 for a Marvel comic. And those Marvel comics are not, as a writer at Marvel, the difference in value between my comic, my independent comic, and the amount of work that goes into an independent comic versus a Marvel comic is not $3. like they're comparable things. But at the same time, Marvel can charge $4 because they have people who will read every book. They want to read it, they will collect it.
So, as a for instance, let's say you go to ComiXology on Wednesday and you look for the new same day as print releases, and everything is $2.99, $3.99, and then there's something that you've never heard of that's 99 cents. What's the perceived value?
Just wondering if we want to even knock back at this. Now I know.
Look at that. He answered the question. I love that.
Yeah, I was also wondering about if you actually wanted to do, say, 4 or 6 issue series, and you submitted the first issue and say, with the kind of intention like, well, this is going to go for 5, 6 issues, would you have to submit each issue, or would you say, okay, well, we're going to accept this, we'll let you go?
Right now,
I just wonder in terms of like, because I wanted to say it came out consistently, like monthly.
Yeah, the more you front load that, the better. Right now we have like probably a 3-month backlog in just accepting stuff because we've had just an overwhelming response, and because we're curating. That backlog we're working on every day to shrink the time. I hope within the next 6 months the backlog's done. But then once you're accepted, I think it's another like 3 months before we can schedule you for release. And right now we're currently releasing like 1,000 pages of new content every week. So, and we're basically 6 months from the time you submit to the time you get out.
So each issue would have to be submitted. Like I could say, well, it's a 6-issue series, so we'll just...
Yeah, just submit them as fast as you can. Once we get into a series, we try to do our best, but, there's a lot of moving parts. And obviously, there's a lot of ComiXology Submit stuff that, that hasn't paid for the work that we put into it, because we're doing guided view for free. You've used the platform, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. So,
there's a person authoring every comic on ComiXology. There's a person that's authored that comic, So we have a group of people that author all the comic books that are coming through. And it's not an automatic process. It's a really hands-on process. So there's a lot of work that we're doing there, and so so there's decisions that we have to make with throughput. But yeah, we're hoping to get through that backlog fairly soon and get to a good by the time submit, accept, and down on the platform that's more reasonable than what we have now. So.
I'm a fan of tumor, so I kind of read the bio about it. So if I had like a big graphic novel, like something like tumor, and then put it up there, I guess what would be like the advertising for it? I'd still obviously have to do my own, legwork on it, but would that be too big of a project to put up on ComiXology?
No, we have graphic novels up on Submit all the time.
I will say, Tumor, we actually did originally syndicated it. It's a monthly, we did it through, in retrospect, we did it through Kindle before Kindle could actually handle graphics. So, we were the first original graphic novel on that rating. Yeah, it was horrible.
I remember that.
And we had to pioneer how you could read a comic, a traditional comic on there. And while it was a nightmare, and while it certainly did not generate money, what it did by syndicating it into chapters is it increased the market awareness. So that by the time the book came out, with the 8 months of promotion that we got out of the digital, by the time the book came out, it sold, at least twice. It sold roughly the same as my book that Random House published, and that's a book that was put out by a tiny know-nothing publisher. So just by having the marketing and by getting the book in people's awareness, instead of working on it and then just throwing it out there and hoping people read this $15 or $20 book, we help to kind of grow the audience over time.
Oh yeah, and
it's like free marketing. It sounds like it's free marketing because you're getting given more input.
Speaking of print, we forgot.
Bunker
got picked up.
Yeah, we're moving to press starting in February. That's a screw up. Yeah, so and even when to use the bunker.
So you're looking like serialization to.
Well, for us, the bunker was a book that I pitched to a few publishers, and the response to them was, "We don't know that this works. We think it's too complicated. We think it's too smart." And I'm a vindictive person, so my response was like, "Well, fuck you. I'm going to go show you that it works." And so by doing it digitally and by showing that it has an audience, that there are people who are interested in it, we kind of end up getting the best of both worlds, where again, we got all this pre-awareness that when the first issue comes out, it's going to sell better. But on top of that, I was able to go, we had 3 or 4 publishers who were all jumping up and down for it, because we'd already proven that it's a thing that works. And finally, when we were able to go into that relationship and into those negotiations in a position of power, where you can say, like, look, I have a thing, I'm totally fine with what we're doing. If you want to get on board our train, these are the terms you have to be on. And that's having sold books to publishers of all kinds, like, it's so much better. Like, it's such a much better problem to have to choose rather than have to beg. And that's all because of ComiXology. It's all about ComiXology Submit. Yay!
Such a success.
Anyone else? That's every question about publishing.
Come on, guys. Come on. It's 2:37. We have 13
and
very long minutes. I haven't gone through the presentation yet.
Nobody has asked how do you find artists. That's my favorite one.
Oh yeah.
Anybody want to do that? How do you find you do this. You're at it. This is how you find them. You walk around Artist Alley and you start talking to people. And you find a guy or girl who is a creative soulmate. That's really the trick. Or have money. That's the other thing. People love money.
Artists love money.
You can give them money.
I have a friend that did a book that will remain nameless that paid darn good page rates to an up and coming indie semi-mainstream artist, and the book looks great. Did well for him,
But it's the same thing. I can do books now. When I was starting out, it was really hard to find artists because I had no track record and there was no proof that doing a book with me was worthwhile. And now, I've had a lot of success, selling stuff to Hollywood. I've had a lot of success just in terms of the publishing side, so that I can find guys who are true partners, who are true collaborators, and who are not taking food out of my delightful daughter's mouth.
Right, Gable?
She's busy. She's watching. She's watching Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Yes, sir.
How do you find colors?
How do you find colors? That's a great question too. Same. There's some colorists that hang out around Artist Alley sometimes.
Yeah, but that's also something where your artist will frequently have people they like to work with. And then, barring that, you can also look people up. So look at books that you like the coloring on, or people who do styles that are similar to what you want, and then you email them. Again, I've worked in film and TV, and I've worked in radio. I've worked in a lot of mass media before, and there's no comparison in terms of how easy and accessible everyone in comics.
Yeah, that's for darn sure. Digitalwebbing.com too. Ed Dukeshire has this small publishing company called Digital Webbing, but he has a forum on his website, and that's a lot of up and coming creators over the last 10 years who really found each other on his forum.
There was a whole DeviantArt. There's also
DeviantArt. You can look and see people's work and hit them up directly through them. But if you want to have a back and forth, I think digital webbing is like the place.
Well, for example, you can if you email a colorist who, you email Brian Buccellato, comes to mind for some reason, probably because he doesn't like the color anymore. But so if you email, you like how Brian colors, because he's amazing, and you email him and you say, hey, do you want to color my book, or do you know anybody? And he knows plenty of people.
Yeah.
And again, we're a business where everyone is really reachable and everybody really wants to make good stuff. So just offering the opportunity to make good stuff goes a long way.
And good colors can
save a book.
Bad colors,
no good.
no good.
Oh, good.
overview.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm interested, I'm sorry I missed a little bit of the beginning, but what are some of the core things that you look for in books or things that you've noticed that have gotten people?
For Submit?
Yeah, for Submit.
Basically, the only thing we're looking for is it professional? So the stuff that we've rejected is just stuff that just, we don't think, anybody would buy, even one copy. So, and that definition is mercurial and changes, and it's sort of a work in progress. But we've taken if you've gone up on the platform, there's a wide variety of stuff.
And I will say, I teach writing classes sometimes, and again, it's the same kind of thing where it's like, how can you tell something's good? And the standard is you hold it up against another comic book. Like, look at another comic, and if your comic can look different, can look stylistically different, it can have a different feel, but you should be able to, and it's a huge part of the job, is you should be able to look at your work and figure out what's wrong with it. And if you can't, a lot of times when you see comics that are horrible, the people have no idea that they're horrible, and that's why they're horrible. Like, it feeds itself. So you have to be able to look at your work and with a critical eye that steps beyond, oh my God, I'm so excited to have a comic book. Which is hard. Like, it's hard to do, again, like, when I get a comic, I just wrote a Galactus miniseries, and every time I get a page with Galactus on it, I'm like, oh, there's Galactus on the page! But you have to get over that, and you have to be able to look at it and be like, oh, but the storytelling is all janky. And you go back and you have to, it's a bone you have to grow in your head. I was really going to say muscle. That's probably sounds better.
I like bone.
Yeah, I like
Is that the Tumor sequel?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hold on.
Thanks for joining me. Thank you. Sorry.
I didn't even swear.
They came in late. They left early.
Who else?
I heckled someone who left the panel one time. They got really mad. What was I heckling about?
I forgot. You just heckled them for leaving early.
Yeah, I was like, I'm so sorry that we're so boring. And I think I wrote in the panel, this is at Boom, I wrote in the panel description that, breaking news and it's going to make your head explode at the end. And he turned around and was like, there's no news being broken today and my head is not exploding. And he stormed out. And I was like, okay, sorry, I lied. Anyway, sorry. That panel joke.
Who else? Nobody?
Another pricing question.
Yeah.
If you do like physical books and then digital, wouldn't you price the digital book lower? Is that something?
I would think, but they don't. And Marvel and DC sell a crapload. Like, I get digital royalties from both, and they sell a crapload of books, and the books are very expensive.
So that's pretty common in like digital format. I've never done my comics.
Yeah, comics is sort of a weird. We actually had over lunch. We had a long conversation about this.
The ebook pricing is getting, started at $9.99, and there's a whole.
Yeah, like my wife wrote a nonfiction book that I think is $38 in print. It's a hardcover, but the digital's $24.
Yeah.
Which is totally random, like a random number to begin with. But then, people buy it. People pay for it.
The thing to do would be to do research, look at similar titles in print with page count, and then look at the digital price. And I think you'll be very shocked looking at similar titles in similar categories with similar page counts and the varying pricing that's out there. So it's very interesting. Something that I used to.
I would hazard against doing 50 cents, like in 250 or 350.
Yeah, I
might as well just do 4.
Yeah,
make an extra 50 cents.
Makes me happy.
Yeah, 350 comic books.
I have no idea.
$4. What are you doing? I think someone's gonna be like, "Well, that 49 cents really did me in. I wasn't gonna do it."
That's not much fun.
Yeah. No, it's fine. It's a price point. I said, I think you're already asking
on the table.
You're already asking for that much money. So, if you're going to price a book at $17.99, why wouldn't you just do $19.99 with the difference?
Yeah.
What's the difference between $18 and $20? It's $2, but it's $1 more than you make.
Yeah. it's fascinating having been in publishing when I was in Boom and doing marketing and sales and pricing trades and stuff, and just seeing what worked, what didn't, and then doing stuff where you think, oh, there's no way anyone's going to pay this price for this, and then they do, and great. It's interesting. It's a pricing is sort of a real weird balance between psychology and economics. It sort of lives in the middle. It's a fine art.
I was going to ask, do you have a set policy on adult content, like language?
We're hardcore pornography. We shy away from. On the
you can just send that to Chip directly.
We do have some erotica. On the platform.
Obviously more driven than like say a few panels that have to be nudity or a few panels of language.
There's nudity in this guy's book.
But it's me. It's just pictures of me.
Yeah.
Okay. Bonus feature.
Yeah. The author bio picture. It's weird. It's a close-up shot too. I wouldn't have made that decision, but it's all.
But it's Submit. We can do whatever.
Yeah.
What, Jody?
You do some research and then you want to adjust pricing after it's already been published. It's pretty much set in stone, or
you can send an email. Yeah, I think that's how we do it. Yes, sir.
I have some friends who were self-publishing for a while, and something you saying like they didn't see that the value of like single issues with us as good anymore. They just kind of go straight to the trade for that. But after hearing your comments, I was thinking that ComiXology sounds like releasing things in smaller bits as issues.
Yeah, no, DC has a really incredibly successful program where they're doing digital first. They have a digital first comic book coming out every day of the week, I believe, except Sunday, maybe. And they had the Justice digital first comic. They had Comic Girls. There's a Batman, Dark Knight. There's a Superman, Smallville, and basically they would collect the three digital first, and then solicit it as a single issue, and then go to trade. So you have this this economy of single issues, collect to trade, where people are trying to let's get the goal in publishing. At least when I was in publishing was let's see if the single issues can pay for themselves, and then we'll make money on the trade. At the very minimum, pay for themselves. And now you have, with digital, you can do even pre-singles in digital, and then do singles, and then do trade. And so, you're building awareness, you're building, you're paying, you're hopefully paying for what you put into it, and hopefully profiting even more.
If you look at, say, The Walking Dead, which is an outlier, being the most successful comic book of all time, pretty much right now. Pretty close. But if you look at the business model, even before it was a huge blow-up, what was that business model? He did single issues. Single issues then got into a trade, and then he would collect 2 trades into a hardcover, and then he would collect 4 hardcovers into a massive hardcover. And then he would release a softcover version of that. So what he did, and what has become the model for everybody, and this even goes back to the absolute editions of DC, you want as many bites at Apple as possible. And part of it is exploitative, and that you're trying to get people to rebuy stuff, but part of it is just people want to read things in different ways. There's people who will never read single issues, and there's people who don't want a gigantic hardcover that's going to cut off all circulation to your legs while you sit on the toilet. Let's be honest. So the idea,
55% of ComiXology readers admitted to reading on the can.
Yes. But it's really you want to get as many bites at the apple as possible, and it's not like a movie, right? So when Thor comes out, within 24 hours of the movie getting released anywhere, there's spoilers about what the ending are, what the secret scenes at the end of the movie are. You hear all that stuff, and it actually deflates some interest in the movie, right? Because I wanted to see it first. That's why everyone goes on opening weekend. Comics doesn't work like that. Comics is not that kind of medium. So there's nothing you can do in your book, no matter how crazy your last page is, that's going to hurt your sales, right? That's going to get in the way of promoting what you're doing. So don't cut off your nose to spite your face. Like, you take as many bites as you can.
Anyone Bueller? Last question makes it count.
Any price.
No more pricing questions. But my book's in black and white. Any color?
Walking Dead, black and white, in the top 10 comics being sold in ComiXology right now. Just checked.
But would I be able to submit it in black and white?
Sure.
I know you said it's like a 6-month period. Like within that 6 months, if I get a color, can I put out the color version?
It's another 6 months. Unless I fix that in the next year.
But I can't submit the black and white and be like, instead of black and white, let's do the color.
Yeah, I mean, it's just could be a separate product.
It doesn't really make, I would guess, doesn't really make a lick of difference, to be honest. Like you're spending money on coloring, which eats up any difference in profit that you've made, especially.
Yeah, I mean, the problem, at some point we may get into a period where we may get into a stance where you upload the black and white, it's sold 5 copies, and then 6 months later you're uploading a color version. And then we might say but it hasn't happened yet. So, the curation aspect of Submit is really a work in progress, and we're trying to be as fair as humanly possible within the confines of the amount of work that we're doing in each book. So, it's interesting. It's an interesting challenge internally.
Is there any the best question in the world? Anybody? Best question in the world? That's my treasure.
There we go. I know I came in late,
but you didn't leave early. That's what counts.
Correct in understanding that through going through you guys, that people are coming to ComiXology specifically for the reading experience of what you develop.
Sure. Yeah.
And which they can't get elsewhere if you're selling yourself.
Yep. Yeah. So we're usually, any day of the week, top 10, top 20 grossing iPad app in the entire iTunes App Store, beating the New York Times, and Apple's own Pages, and Apple's own Keynote applications, which if you have a Mac product, that they aggressively promote those products internally. We also are the #1 book app almost all the time. I think the last time I don't know. I think we were #2 book app once in the last 6 months. We're the #1 book app. Before we opened up ComiXology Europe and started putting French content on the platform, we were the #1 book app in France all the time with just American comics. We're the #1 book app in the UK, in Germany, in Spain. Consistently. So we have a huge audience of people that are hungry for comic book content.
So you might have been earlier. One of the things I said was we put up our comic on our site here on free. We did it through ComiXology. We sold 14 times as many on ComiXology. 14 times.
I mean, I know I've bought comics through ComiXology specifically because the reading app is.
Appreciate that.
It's free. So, based on what you said, it's available in other countries, or is that
worldwide?
It's your comic through you guys.
Yeah, worldwide. Yeah, we've had submissions from every continent except.
Right, even limited if you want to.
We've had submissions through every continent except Antarctica. So if you want to go to Antarctica and be the first guy, I'll promote the hell out of it.
So do you offer a translation?
Nope. No, it's just
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, people in Germany are reading. If you open up iTunes and you change the country to Germany, and you go to the ComiXology app, it'll give you the top 10. That's all Bleeding Cool does it every week. Is they'll open up iTunes and they change the country and they copy paste the top 10, and they do top 10 comics around the world, and it's all English language stuff except in the Franco-Belgian countries where we have an office in Paris. and we have signed up about half the market in France, and we're putting up French content. Most of that's geo-blocked to Franco-Belgian speaking countries. So, yeah. Good question. That was a good question.
That gives me a good question.
Okay, no one's kicking us off.
The artist I'm working with, what we want to do is from Chile. We want to do.
He works in Chile?
Probably might be in Chile.
Does he have an awesome blossom?
If we want to release it two at the same time, I think 2 submissions.
Yeah.
That's what he wanted to do, is to do it. Just 2 separate uploads.
Yeah. Cool. Anyone? Bueller? You thought you were the last one, but you weren't. You? No? No, point at you. No one's behind you. No? Okay. Thank you.
This was a production of Secret City Geek Lab on KTSTFM.com. We broadcast every Wednesday at 7 o'clock p.m. Visit the Geek Lab at secretcitycomedy.com/geeklab or like us on Facebook at facebook.com/secretcity.